Hey guys, what I want to try to explain, well, demonstrate, whatever, is the first banking system that I ever felt like I came up with on my own back when I first started learning how to bank, trying to learn how to bank, still trying to learn how to bank. Um, I've never had any instruction or anything on it. Just kind of seeing what people did. You know, one guy, I think it was Louis DeMarco, told me that you hit the balls more firmly because it makes things more consistent from rail to rail, from table to table. And that was probably about the limit of my instruction. So I was on my own. That was fine. I like learning stuff and trying to figure things out. Once I got to the point where I pretty much knew what the angle is, like on this 9, how do you shoot that ball in at that firm speed? I would start to run into issues where, what if the cue ball wasn't there? What if the cue ball was here? And in order to hit the 3 at that same spot on the rail, I would have to cut it. So I'd have to cut the 3 in the same spot on the rail. Well, and a lot of times it would come short at that point. In other words, it would hit here instead of going in. Or if the cue ball was here, not up so much that I had to worry about a kiss, but where I had to cut it to my left a little bit to hit that same spot. Apparently I can't miss right now, but the ball would go long. The reason these things happened was because of contact-induced spin. If I'm going to cut the ball to my right, in other words, I'm going to come into it like this, the 3 ball is going to get just a little bit of clockwise spin. And if things work out that way, it's still going to have that little bit of clockwise spin when it hits that rail. I'm going to cut the ball to my left, then the cue ball is going to get a little bit of counterclockwise spin. And if things go a certain way, it's still going to have that when it hits that rail. So it makes the balls miss. So, you know, what I figured out, decided, was that I had to do something about this contact-induced spin, because it's very rare that ball is going to line up exactly where I can just hit it with a dead shot, with a dead stop shot and get to go in. If that happens, great. But that's usually not the case. It's usually going to be off. You're usually cutting the ball if you're going to try to hit that spot. So I said, okay, how do you counteract that contact-induced spin? How do you get rid of it? Just because I had been playing pool at that point for quite a while already, and I knew that if I'm going to cut a ball to my left, which would normally put counterclockwise spin on it, what if I put a little bit of clockwise spin on the cue ball? And then when it hits it, it'll help to counteract that. So if I time everything right and get everything right, if I put left English on the cue ball, but I cut the ball to my left, then maybe the odds ball will come off with no spin. If I'm not making any sense, I apologize. These are my first shots of the day, and my cats all have the zoomies. So, okay, let's see, instead of being here, let's see, which is dead center ball, if I'm here, I know I have to cut the ball to my right to hit that same spot on the rail, which means I have to put a little bit of left English on the ball. Okay, how much? How much left English? An awful lot of left English would be too much. I would counteract that contact induced spin too much. Not enough left English would be not enough. I wouldn't counteract it enough. So where's the sweet spot? Zoom, 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 kiddies. So I have mentioned in earlier videos that back in the day I was pretty active on the internet use groups. And I've also mentioned that there were three kinds of people that were active on those news groups. There were more or less normal people. Freddie Agner, normal person. Tom Simpson, normal person. There were weirdos, people I guess like me. I want to say John Barton, but I don't know if he was in that category back then of being a weirdo. And then there were the science guys, and one of the science guys was kind of an asshole, and so I'm not going to give you his name. The other one was a good guy, a nice guy, and he would respond to your emails, and that was Ron Shepard. And so I asked Ron, hey, if I want to counteract this contact-induced spin, how do I do it? Is there some type of a formula that I can do that with? Where I know exactly how much left English I have to put on the ball to counteract the contact-induced spin. I think I was expecting an answer that a normal person could maybe understand. And what I got was math about like this, and that no human is capable of being that accurate, except fucking Dennis. But it just got me thinking that I know that left English would help in that case. I know that right English would help in the other case, but I'm cutting it in the other direction. So just do something, just try something. And what I ended up doing, like I said, the first banking system that I ever came up with, whatever. Let's say that this 9-ball bank right here is a straight bank. And it may be or it may not be, it's hard to tell. It'll be my first shots of the day. And I didn't hit it straight anyway. It helps when you hit them straight. But what I ended up doing was, if I had a cut, still not going. If I had a cut, what I would do would be kind of like, okay, I've got to cut this to my right. I can see the angle for, as well as I could at my level of banking experience back then. I know where I want to hit the 9. I want to hit the 9 in that direction. So it's a cut to my right. I have to hit the 9 right there to send it in that direction. But I'm over here. I'm not straight in on this shot. I'm over here. So all I would do was I would go, okay, I'm going to hit the 9 there, and I would take the corresponding point on the cue ball. Does that make any sense? And that's where I would hit the cue ball. So from this position, which is my shot line, I'm putting that little bit of left English on the shot. I'm putting that little bit of left English on the shot and shooting it. I had to cut it to my left. Same pocket. Again, I knew which direction I wanted to hit the 2 in. I also knew that in order to get the 2 in that direction, it's got to be a cut to my left. Okay, so let's just say it's like that. Find the corresponding spot on the cue ball, which is like there. And then when I come over here, so that spot is right there, center of the cue ball when I'm standing here. But I'm not going to be standing here. I'm going to be over here because I have to cut the ball to my left. So I find the spot, get on my shot line, and now I've got right English on the ball. The spot that was center ball from here is right English from here. And then that's all I would do. And then in theory, if I hit it right, and I'm not being completely stupid, you know, the balls would very often go in. And when I first came up with this, I was like, yay, secret of bank pool, yay. Go ahead and start getting my banner ready for Derby. Because I got this shit figured out now. That was the way I was. When I first started doing it, I was doing a hell of a lot better than I just did on that shot. But what I didn't think about was, this was back during the time when I was learning how to bank. And so I was banking a lot of balls. And so I really and truly think at this point that one of the big reasons that, you know, when I invented this system or came up with this system, one of the reasons that it was working so well for me wasn't because it was such a great system, secret pool, whatever. It was because I'd just been banking a lot. I was just a lot better at banking because of just experience and practice that I'd had at those. Yet back at the time, I didn't think about that. I thought, well, there's going to be some place where I can hit this ball and the bank becomes a duck because of, you know, math and shit. But in reality, I think the reason I, you know, was banking a lot better once I had done that was because I was banking a lot more often. I'm not entirely sure any of that makes sense. It probably does make a little bit of sense. It's really not that complicated. This was kind of the, you know, the world's simplest banking system that I came up with, which just basically gave me something to shoot at instead of what I felt like at the time was doing this at every shot. It gave me something to do. If I want to bank the 9 back here, I knew that I wanted to counteract that contact-induced spin on the 9 because I have to cut it to my left. So I knew I wanted to put right English on the cue ball. And instead of just kind of just guessing, I remember I had no feel for any shots back then. I was still learning this stuff. I had no feel for it. I didn't want to just guess. I wanted to get something that was either going to work or not, and I could duplicate it the next time something similar came along. So that's what I did. And I would go, okay, I felt like I could see this line pretty well at that point in my development. And then I could bring my cue over parallel, and I could hit the cue ball at that spot, you know, in that direction. And you got to get to spin. Did I ever mention that 8 pool? We'll do this again because if you all didn't notice, my timing was not only off on that stroke, it was pretty much non-existent. Pretty much non-existent timing. So I hit that ball with nothing. I hit the cue ball with nothing, even though I was over here, because of the way that my timing was so far gone. There was nothing on the cue ball. That was pretty bad. So we just do the same thing. And I didn't have to do this and this. I'm too lazy for shit like that. But I could do this, and then this be parallel. Just come over parallel. And it would give me something, maybe just that. Maybe just a little bit of confidence or whatever. Which, as I was saying, I thought I was on something. Boy, I was like, watch out, run back, I'm coming to get you. Yeah, I wasn't on to something that much. I was on to something that I could be consistent at least. And I could eventually learn that, hey Dave, this method that you've been doing, yeah, it's an approximation at best. Just like every other aiming system. I did a video about aiming systems and how I think they're approximations. This was just the same thing. partly because it's an aiming system, and partly because I'm a human being and I don't have the accuracy or the consistency to do things exactly right, exactly the same way every time. And so that's fine, but I did think it was very interesting. I can even do it like on a shot, like run across side to 5. I know what this line is, or I knew kind of ish, again based on my experience. What's this line? Then I could just come over parallel. Now, so on this shot, I've got to put a buttload of left handers on the shot if I want to counteract the contact and do spin. And so I would just shoot. I would shoot the shot with a buttload, left-handed English, and try to counteract the contact and do spin like that. In reality, what was happening was I was just getting better at that kind of bank. Getting better at hitting the ball thinly, whatever, just getting better at it. But that stupid little world's most basic aiming system or banking system that I was using, it gave me a way to be just a little bit more consistent with what I was doing, and at the time gave me a way to be a little bit more confident about what I was doing. Hey, I'm not just doing this. I got a system, you know. I just have to get better at that system. And what was really happening, though, was I was just getting better at banking and using this system of mine as a smoke screen or whatever. I'm not entirely sure what the right phrasing is for that, but it was fun at the time to feel like I'd come up with something that was really, really going to be useful for me for the next umpteen years as I played pool. And things like that are always fun for me, to think I've discovered something or learned something or, you know, invented something. In that case, it was fun back then. And now I look at it now, I'm like, dude, that was, you know, kind of silly, because you're not hitting the cue ball as accurately as you think or as consistently as you think. And now I guess I know better. I know better than to try to use that particular thing. But I'm going to tell you what, every now and then, if I don't feel like I'm seeing the shot right, then I'll still do that. I will. Just like just about every other aiming system that I know, if I don't feel like I'm getting a good feel for the shot, or heck, even if I feel like if I think I'm playing the shot by feel, but it still just flat out doesn't look right, a lot of times I'll use one of those aiming systems to kind of like check my work. I do these kind of things. They are fun for me. They're probably holding me back in a lot of ways, but you know, at this point, whoop-de-doo. I'm going to stop this, I think. I don't think I have anything else to say. That was just my little demonstrations of what I've always just called the world's simplest banking system that I came up with back in the day when I was first trying to learn how to bank. I'm probably not the first one that ever tried stuff like that. Maybe not the first one that ever tried that exact thing before. But nobody taught me that one. I just kind of came up with that and felt like it was working. And it was, but not in the way I thought. It wasn't the secret of banking balls. It was a way for me to be consistent and have something to shoot at and all that kind of stuff. So that's it. Thanks, guys.